Hello and welcome to Transfermarkt TV. I'm Manu Fed, he's Stefan Bienkowski. And Stefan, today's big topic is Christian Pulisic, the US men's national team star at Chelsea, who isn't really a big star at the moment, mostly sitting on the bench, limited playing time, just 1 goal and 1 assist in 21 Premier League games this year. There has been rumors today linking him with a move to Italy, Serie A, Juventus or Napoli, without really going into these specific rumors. It feels like it's about time that he moves on.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really seen anything, concrete in terms of transfer rumors or even kind of any hints from the player or the club, but it does seem more and more likely that Pulisic probably will move on from the club this season or the summer rather, frankly, because his move to Chelsea just hasn't really worked out for one reason or another. I think there's definitely some arguments to be made that he has been a victim of circumstance to a large extent. I mean, he's after joining the club in 2019. You could put together a list of forwards that Chelsea have signed since then, which I have done, and I'll just read out some of the names for you. Kai Havertz, Timo Werner, Hakim Ziyech, Romelu Lukaku, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Raheem Sterling. Mudryk was the most obvious, most recent one. And we're talking there about, 5, 6, 7 players who can all directly play in the same position as Pulisic. So an insane amount of competition for game time since he rocked up at Stamford Bridge, perhaps more so. I mean, an unprecedented, perhaps, degree of competition in the modern era in terms of just a really, attacking emphasis in terms of Chelsea's transfer window, or transfer business. But you can also kind of look at the player himself and say, well, he's also been quite unfortunate with injuries since he joined Chelsea. Injuries were always kind of a small part of his game time at Dortmund, but if you kind of look at the amount of games he's missed since he's joined Chelsea, it's really kind of gone on a completely different level, really. I mean, at Dortmund, it was 2 games here, 3 games there, but not enough to kind of derail his season, not enough to derail his form, and that's obviously why he was able to build up the attention he got from a club like Chelsea. But you only have to go through his last kind of 2 or 3 seasons at Chelsea. We're talking maybe like 14 games in the 2019-20 season. We're probably talking about 10 or 12 games in the 2021 season, another 14 last season, and he's already missed 11 games this season as well from a knee injury. So from time after time after time, even if he had a manager who believed in him, and even if he was putting in better performances than the 7 or 8 forwards that he's up against, his injuries have held him back. And sometimes in these situations, players just have to kind of draw a line under these things and say, well, if I can get over these injuries, I'm probably better going to a club that will give me game time week in, week out, and can I let me get my career back on track?
Yeah, I mean, injuries were already a little bit of a part of the story in his last year at Borussia Dortmund, right? Where he essentially lost his position to Jadon Sancho. And I think this is something that people have to keep in mind as part of this Chelsea story. He was already kind of moving to Chelsea a little bit on the back foot, right? In the last year that Dortmund had a legitimate shot at the title, a similar situation to this year. So I always felt like it was an interesting move at the time at a club that even under Roman Abramovich already was under quite a bit of turmoil. I think there was a lot of hope in the United States that with an American owner coming in, Todd Bowley, obviously, right, and at Bali, that things would improve and that managers were brought in that maybe give him a little bit more playing time. But, things went from Thomas Tuchel to Potter and now to Lampard. And Lampard actually did play him quite a bit during his first spell, but now he's not playing at all anymore. And I think we got into a place now where a lot of people in the United States are saying, well, obviously this is not the right club for him, right? Maybe it was a step too far. Maybe it was also a step into a situation that was just too difficult to handle. His fitness, of course, a huge concern. So, every time we put anything out on our Instagram channel or Twitter channel, I see lots and lots of American commenting, he needs to go, he needs to move on, he needs to go to a different club, he needs to maybe go to a different league, maybe La Liga, Serie A. Now, obviously, this is where the rumors are from. A lot of people say, go back to Dortmund. I'm not sure they need another winger, but Stefan, I feel like, in the context of that, he's always going to be a starter for the US men's national team if he's fit because of the star power that he still has. Yes, there's a lot of other young players kind of coming in and they could eventually threaten his position. But for now, he is still the undisputed number 1 American winger. But you also sense that he has to maybe think about making a step to a different club where he can just play.
Yeah, that's the key thing. I think what maybe plays in his favour is that although he has had a lot of injuries over the last 2 or 3 seasons, they're all very different in their, in their nature. One was a torn muscle injury, one was an ankle injury, one was a knee problem. So we're not talking about like he has a bad knee that continues to kind of trip him up or a bad ankle, which happens sometimes. So he could feasibly turn around to another club, potentially in the Premier League, and say, look, I know I've had my injuries, but we're not talking about a kind of consistent injury history here. We're talking about just some really bad luck over the last 2 or 3 seasons. And, I mean, I know that the idea of him moving back to Dortmund's quite tempting, or maybe Spain and Italy would work quite well. But I'd be very surprised if, a few Premier League clubs didn't come in for him before he considered a move abroad from England, because when he is fit and when he does start for Chelsea, he's one of their best forward players. And, you can even kind of break it down per 19. I know he's only got 26 goals and 21 assists in over 140 games, but if you kind of break that down into terms of actual like minutes played, he's a very efficient forward. So I think he's still got a really bright future. He's still relatively young at 24 years old, but he has to pick this next move in the summer really carefully. Has to be a team that will nurture him. It's a team that will give him game time. And it's a team that's not going to just kind of drop him when he picks up a first injury and signs 2 or 3 forwards to replace him.
Yeah, I think maybe a final thought on this before we wrap this up, and this is maybe where the Italy rumors are coming from. CBS has the rights for Serie A in the United States, and they have really turned it into a very sexy product. It's the only way to describe it. Applause to our colleagues at CBS. We've really done a fabulous job, but Serie A is a product that is really much on the rise in the United States. There's a lot of American owners. There's a lot of Italians or Americans with an Italian past living in the United States that have invested in Serie A, and it is an exciting league that is getting a ton of attention. So, with that in mind, and also the fact that Christian Pulisic has a Croatian background, in Croatia too, Serie A is very, very much a popular league. I think that could be something that would entice him. Whether it is Milan, Napoli, Juventus, Milan is probably not a bad shot because of the way they are able to nurture players back to fitness, right? And give them a longevity that he's maybe been lacking. I think Italy might actually be a pretty good shout. And that is not to say that he will not stay in the Premier League. But Stefan, that's it from us from today. Please go and check out our Transfermarkt sites. We have tons of rumors in the rumor mill there, including any Christian Pulisic links to any kind of club anywhere in the world. We have the latest news on there as well. Some rising stars sections as too. So yeah, check it out on Transfermarkt. We'll be back soon with a new video. Until then, bye.